Hello, everybody. Welcome. Paula Vale here, your host of Choices, Finding Your Joy. Today, I am so pleased to share with you just a fascinating man. I can listen to him for hours. He is so informative. So happy to have with us today, Rob Leonetti. For over 20 years, Rob's passion, enthusiasm, and drive to transform those around him through positive and transformational change has led him through many journeys of the self and human condition. He's highly successful in business, a developer, and team building. Rob has trained leaders and, mentors in many walks of life. And as a voracious lifelong learner, believes learning never stops. I love that, Rob. Learning never stops. We learn our whole life. I want to say welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Paula. I really appreciate it. And absolutely, learning never ever stops. As long as we're breathing, we should always be learning and keeping our mind active and our awareness keen. I really appreciate you having me on today. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, I'm just so tickled to have you here today. Tell everyone a bit of your background and a bit about what brought you to where you're at today, Rob.
Sure, Paula. Thank you. And I'll frame what I'll speak about exactly in that context. So let me talk about who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing at this particular time in my life. Helping folks find their authentic selves. And then I'll review some topics and perspectives on some thoughtful living. And I really look forward to our dialogue. So a little about me. As long as I could remember, I've always had a deep fascination about the human condition. We're a breathing, living dichotomy of wonders. I believe we have a very, very strong inherent strength, and we have this dichotomy of capacity for both good and not so good. So that's really the thing. The ability to love unconditionally, and then we see in the world to hate unrelentingly. We're just such a miracle of biology. We're complemented by the mysterious, infinite mind that we have in our internal spirit. We're so fragile, but we're so resilient. So this is a fascinating subject that I've always been attracted to. And life, you hear cliches all the time. Life is a journey, but it really is. It's a journey until the end. And it's made up of never-ending series of challenges and decisions, beautiful ones, difficult ones. It's never boring. And along the journey, it's so easy to lose our personal power, our enthusiasm, our faith, because of internal and external forces. And I'll talk about the external forces in a bit. Many times when things get tough, we pause. I know I do, and I get, philosophical and reflect on the big questions. Like, have you done the why are you here? What is your purpose and higher meaning and things of that nature? I'm sure that's very natural, especially when times get difficult, because you really go inside yourself and you just kind of question your place in the universe. And there's a funny story about John Lennon, who said his mother always told him that happiness was the key to life. And when he was 5, he went to school, and the teacher asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he wrote down happy. And they said, well, I don't think you understand the assignment, John. And he said, I don't think you understand life. So at 5 years old, he knew a lot more than most adults. So isn't it something that the simplest of words, happy, is the most foundational, simple, but elusive goal? I mean, why are we here except just to be happy, right? Don't want to live in misery. We want to continuously love and give back, and we have our family to reinforce that and our friends, but yet it slips through our fingers. So your show is perfectly titled, and that's why I'm so thrilled to be here. Finding your joy and your happiness is what it's all about. So the ways and means to reclaim that personal power, I believe, are closer than we could even imagine and realize. Sometimes all you need is to be reminded of how amazing you really are. So I think I was watching the U.S. Open golf tournament. I don't claim to be a golfer, but I do like to putt with my son on a golf green. So we were watching the U.S. Open, and this world-famous golf coach was being interviewed about his method that he trains his elite athletes. And he said, I don't really teach anything. They know what to do. At this point, they know what to do. I just remind them. So this, to me, is a telling metaphor, which translates, in my way of thinking, just the act of living a life equips us with most things we need. Sometimes we just need a little gentle nudge to remind us that we are as capable as we are. So I once heard that a good idea doesn't care where it came from. And that's always stuck with me. And we talked about this. And in the realm of personal empowerment and growth, there's no one size fits all, no silver bullet. Well, we'd love there to be, right? The pill that makes you lose 20 pounds. You could sit on your couch and become a world-class athlete, the life of convenience. But we all have our own lens, the way we experience the world. Our perspective is extremely complex, and the origins are evolutionary and hardwiring and hereditary, environmental circumstances, like our early years and our development. And we're talking about 7 billion of us on the planet. That's a lot of unique perspectives, right? Mm-hmm. With that many variations and worldviews, there's no one way to perceive and process life for lasting change, except the way that makes sense to you and that relates to you, and you could bring in and you can consume it and then apply it. So it doesn't take much to get moving. People are under a fallacy that it's difficult to make a change or to find your joy. And it really doesn't take much to get moving in the right direction. Just a simple idea, I know I've experienced it, can alter your whole trajectory of your life. You hear it all the time. What I read in that book changed my life. Or I never thought of it that way. Yeah. Or I'm going to try that. Or finally somebody who gets it. All the aha moments we have, they really change our way of thinking, kind of a rewiring set, a reset of the way we perceive things. And God bless those moments. There should be a lot more of them. So I say the more amazing people like yourself in the world that are contributing to the state of this complex thing we call the human condition, the better. So thank you for helping be such a force for positive change. Gosh, the impact is immense.
Thank you, Rob. I just love your points. And, one thought, really changing one thought or, aspect of how we look at something really can change so much in our lives, because it can open a whole new door, and it can take us from fear to excitement. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. It's like this complete, pushing of a button, and a lifetime of thinking in one direction suddenly gets turned round. But it takes that one firing of that synapse in your mind to click, and it's that aha light bulb epiphany thing that is amazing. I know I've experienced it, but in the world of these personal development folks, some of them, again, with so many people in the world, the perspectives and how you consume their messages are very different. So from my perspective, my approach, gosh, I was always a curious kid. I always took things apart and put them back together just to see how they worked. And I also had a talent for creativity. So my natural processing tendency was sort of to fuse philosophy and fact into the way I experienced my life. I like to call that subjective objectivity. So I'm very open to a myriad of different approaches because of the no one size fits all. And you should be open to different perspectives and opinions. However, not getting too attached to them. Just like Buddha says, the root of suffering is attachment. And I believe that to be true. Remember, a good idea doesn't care where it comes from. So if you're open to it, then you can live an extraordinary life, a much richer, broader one. Now, I've actually informally and formally studied a bunch of disciplines, from neuroscience to metaphysics and philosophy, psychology, and they all kind of shaped my worldview. But the most powerful tool has been in the authenticity I'm hoping to bring to my articulation is experiential learning. There's absolutely nothing that replaces the sincere experience that one has, the life-changing and altering that you can give back and explain, because ultimately this is so much of this is hand in glove with so many other people. Now, personally speaking, you know, a lot of goodness comes from pain. You hear all the time the best comedians have the most harsh upbringing and most difficult time in their life, and they use comedy as a therapy, and they give back, and they're wonderful people. So things like that change you. And my mission was rooted in a lifelong journey through a series of challenges of my own. I mean, beginning at an early age with, I lost my dad and my sister, tragic tragedy, very traumatic. Subsequently, I was raised by a very abusive stepfather, suffering years of mental and physical abuse, which resulted in depression and anxiety, and it spiraled out of control and brought me to very, very dark and dangerous places. I also experienced a series of health crises later in my life that had me almost knocking on death's door. So these circumstances profoundly changed me. And I made a conscious decision to embrace and own that pain as I fought like hell to find my way to the other side. So eventually, in some way, through my experiences, I could help people realize that bad things happen to good people and that nobody is immune to challenges. And it's how you manage through those times with the strength to face the fears and take back your personal power to live life and not just survive it. So very, very.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about, in that context, past performance not equaling future results. It's a play on financial investment advice. In this case, meaning just because things may have not gone as planned previously in your life, it does not mean whatsoever you won't triumph by trying again. Forward momentum and perseverance is a superpower. I'm telling you, our personal stories shape us, but they don't define us. So you can affect positive change at any point in your life. You absolutely can. But it starts with awareness. So life is that journey, as we say, but it's really, really hard. It's a hard path. Even in its best times, there's always something there, right? We turn the corner and there's always a challenge waiting for us. But that's okay. It's part of it. I mean, I didn't sign a contract that said it was going to be all roses, and that's okay. You need to embrace that fact. No matter who you are and what you do, when frustrations and challenges come up, take a breath, refocus, And sometimes you just need a hand to get through and see the forest through the trees. Because once you're aware, cultivating meaningful change is hard, but it requires leaving your comfort zone. And that's usually pretty comfortable. So remember, there's no courage without fear. So you need to practice courage. And this is an interesting theory that I am not the author of, but I've heard and I really, really like it. Like anything else, courage is a behavior that can be developed, but you don't need to jump off a plane or go into a burning building right off the bat. You practice small steps, micro bravery, little baby steps, just going forward. Get to understand a fear, whatever it may be. Speaking in front of folks, going to an interview, showing up late at a party. No, I can't do that. Something that speaks to you, that you've put on the back burner. You say it's on your bucket list. Kind of examine that a little bit and do something to step you out of your comfort zone a little bit each day, and learn to recognize the difference between excitement and fear, because biologically they are the same reaction in your body. So you could be really excited about something, but you're interpreting it as fear. So exactly the same chemical rush is from both emotions. So it's really, it's all about that awareness. And you work your bravery muscles. You do little things. You don't put so much pressure on yourself. So micro change in anything is extremely powerful. Baby steps, forward momentum, and visualize it. Always see it in your mind first. That's why mindfulness is so important. Set your goals and be accountable. And surround yourself with positive people. It's very difficult to do this in a vacuum. You're not alone. You're never alone. And it's really important to understand that. And Confucius says, it doesn't matter how slowly you go, just as long as you don't stop. So forward momentum is completely omniscient. It's so powerful. So when you change your thoughts, you change your life. And know that when anything goes wrong, or right for that matter, it's 100% temporary. It never lasts. Circumstances simply don't last. So relish every blessing and know that the tough times, they're going to be gone. They're absolutely will. And the challenges that you face are opportunities for growth. And again, it's all the perception. It's my belief that there are no failures. There are only outcomes. You can choose to learn from them and use their lessons constructively, or you can feel victimized and do not so much. So, whatever you feel is best, but, take a breath and realize it's the perspective you approach life with that produces your happiness and results. And you're in control. You really do have the power of that choice.
Yes. Oh, I love that, Rob. I love that. And I love your expression, exercise your bravery muscles. Oh my gosh, I'm going to think about that. Next time there's something I want to do that's a bit of a challenge for me, I'm going to exercise my bravery muscles. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's your brain's a muscle, your heart's a muscle, everything's a muscle. You'd be amazed, just stepping forward into a little bit of the fire is so empowering. So I mean, you want to live a life, and you don't want to stay cocooned if you have anxiety about just kind of normal things. Hey, believe me, I've been there. I know how difficult it is. But there are ways and means to break free of these kind of virtual handcuffs. Mm-hmm. And again, if you look at it in its entirety, it's very overwhelming. That's why you have to chunk things apart and do these little baby steps. So you could live. So you could, like Steve Jobs said, he said, being the richest man in the cemetery doesn't matter to me. So get your priorities in order and live a life. And that kind of makes me think of life being hard, but it's even harder for women. And I have a strong degree in appreciation and advocacy for women's rights. I believe our global society is way disproportionately overdue to bridge that gender gap. Challenges ranging from reproductive to violence against women, financial equality, equal opportunities. It's just so disproportionate. Women worldwide make 77% the amount paid by men, and Black and Hispanic women have to work 19 months to make what white men did in a year. That's just completely wrong. So, you know, I'm an advocate, and you know, I write to congressmen and senators and kind of filibuster these types of changes. And you know what's really heartbreaking? The tragedy of human trafficking. These kind of subversions, tragic things in the world that aren't at the top of everyone's list, but 80% of 800,000 victims a year of human trafficking are women and girls, and they're mostly taken from their homes to be forced into prostitution abroad.
Yes.
It's just completely awful. And I know a lot of women who are on the side of putting that to an end, and I really applaud them, because I mean that's that dichotomy in the world. It's beautiful and it's tragic at the same time, and we really have to stand up for the rights.
Yes, we do.
And in business, women are the complete minority. This is the most unbelievable fact. There are more male CEOs named John CEOs overall. I mean, you know, it's wonderful to see women of power ascend to corporate senior executive spots, but there needs to continuously be this mindset shift of women's enablement. So that brings me to kind of the last thing I want to speak about, and that has to do with the disproportionate and unrealistic body image demands that are really fueled by Hollywood and the media, which can lead to serious psychological issues like depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, eating disorders, and self-harm for adolescent girls and adult women. It's a silent epidemic of suffering and fear, and it's all from external pressure and expectations. And I think there's a Chinese proverb that says, care about what other people think and you'll always be the prisoner. So it's human nature to want to be liked and accepted. However, this leads to too much worrying and thinking about, you go into yourself and beat yourself up. The thing that it is, these are evolutionary feelings. They're all from primal roots. You know, our ancestors needed to share the planet with woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. No one wanted to get left behind, so we need this group inclusion. So it's really interesting that the sources of a lot of these feelings are biological and anthropological. It's crazy. And then we put that in today's settings. But we're not running away from woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. Rejection hurts. Nobody wants to be rejected, right?
Yes.
It denies something you're proud of, happy about, confident in. I'll tell you a story. I said to myself one day years ago, I'm not going to embarrass myself and tell you what exactly this idea was, but I had this idea, and I was going to make $1 million. And I told my wife and a few friends, some coworkers, and they said, that's a terrible idea. No one's going to buy that. And wham, I got mentally stopped cold before I even had a chance to get my idea off the ground. So what happened to my dream? It died on the table because of somebody else's opinion. So, I mean, I'm no different. Now I'm more mindful of these things. But what if, what if Steve Jobs and Bill Gates had listened to everybody telling them no? The world would be a severely different place. I mean, acting and reacting out of fear of rejection, yeah, that's not going to work. You're a unique person with unique thoughts from a unique experience. And when you start to favor other people's opinions of you, you foster self-criticism, negative self-talk, and the feeling of incompleteness. And it just gets worse. It's a damaging cycle. Mm-hmm. Remember, opinions are not fact. That's the thing you have to really be cognizant of. They may not even be truth. It's merely somebody else's view about an issue that's solely on personal judgment and therefore should not impact choices. And the thing about it, we give them too much credence. Others don't really care as much as we think. And it's impossible to please everybody. And people's thoughts change on a regular basis. They could be opinionated one day and love you the next. So why are you doing that to yourself? I mean, once you give up catering to other people's opinions and thoughts, you will find out who you truly are. And that freedom will be like taking a breath for the first time. Yes. Lastly, take care of you. Be selflessly selfish, because the benefits of that are not only for you, but are for your loved ones. You develop healthy eating habits, exercise, practice spiritual well-being, mental stimulation for brain function. Live as a participant in life. Have fun. Be kind to others. Pay it forward. Smile and laugh at yourself, because taking yourself serious is much too much of a burden. Let go of the past. Spend time with your friends. Treat yourself to things you want and not just need. Laugh a lot. And love, love, love. And tell those people that you do. And do it often. Mae West said the best thing. You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough.
Oh, so I love it. Oh my gosh. You just had so many powerful statements, Rob. You are so fantastic. And so many of these things that you pointed out, we really don't think about that often. But yet they're in our lives, such as the criticisms from others, and that may be because they're in a bad mood. It may have nothing to do with us. I mean, and I love it. Love ourselves and just know how beautiful we are. I love it. Oh, I've so enjoyed having you on the show. I just can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you so much, Paula. It's really been a thrill. And I think we spoke about before I came on, my website and my book coming out in the fall through the blogs that I've been putting up on www.robleonetti.com. You'll find there a bunch of helpful resources, daily inspiration and tools, and it's just some place that folks can go if they choose to get a little more clarity and shake out the cobwebs. And I'm always happy to help with questions that people write in.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. Love, hugs, and blessings. And to everyone out there, love, hugs, and blessings.